thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
It's so nice to have you, and it was lovely to read this book.
Did you read it?
I did read it, and there are so many
Nice.
things about you that I didn't know before, and I had no idea that you were a backup singer, that you had a sort of transcendent cultural moment as a child when someone showed you the blues for the first time.
Yep.
It's wonderful.
Yes, yes, yes. Music was definitely my main focus for many years.
And then you sort of fell backwards into becoming an actress, even though your father was a director.
He was a director, and I was a very emotional child, so he thought, yeah, if you're going to be in the arts, you should be an actor. And I just really loved to play music, so that's really what I wanted to do. Plus, I don't think I wanted to do what my dad wanted me to do. So I was a bit rebellious at the same time.
Was part of writing this book sort of reminding people, not necessarily reminding people, but talking about this period of time where you were a backup singer and sort of letting people know your background a little bit more, because it's so fascinating for me as someone who's a child during Married with Children to know that the mother in Married with Children, who's the show that I watched all the time, she sang with Etta James, she sang with all these amazing, amazing people at one point.
Well, the motivation for the book was really my children. I have 3 amazing children, and I've always been sort of obsessed with letting them know where I came from, letting them know about them. And it's probably, my parents died when I was young, so I have no actual living relatives, like older living relatives. I have brothers and sisters, but nobody that knows the history. So it started as a journal, just journaling for my kids, and I would write these little essays and things, and then before I knew it, it turned into a book deal, and like surprise. But no, somebody suggested that I make it a book, so I did. And
you were just in the middle of writing, and a book deal appeared.
They just showed up, and I really wanted to explain to them, you know, it just got into my history, and so much of my history is music. So it wasn't that I necessarily wanted everybody to know, but if I was going to tell the story of me and the story of them, music had to be included.
How much is music still a major part of your life?
Well, I have a new band. I was in a band. I have a band called the Reluctant Apostles, and it's actually my favorite band that I've been in for a long time, because when I started playing in bands, I was in high school, and I was always just like the girl in the band, and I would sing a few songs and play guitar and shake tambourines and be in the background and sing harmonies. And I never was like necessarily the focal point. And so now I'm in a band like that, where it's, there's 6 of us, and everybody, they're all great musicians, and we all pass off leads and sing harmonies, and I play tambourine and bongos and guitar. It's really fun.
You've released a couple solo albums before, though, right?
Oh, yeah.
Did you think it took, because you were a backup singer for quite some time before you ended up getting on the Mary Tyler Moore show, or not the Mary Tyler Moore show, but the Mary Show, right? I believe it's called, and then Married with Children. Do you think it took something like TV putting you at the forefront, almost by accident on your part, to sort of give you the confidence to then become a solo artist and put yourself at the front of a band rather than as a backup singer?
Oh, no, no, no. I had always been trying to be a solo artist, and I just felt like they didn't get it.
Misread this.
No, it wasn't that gave me the confidence. It gave me a little more cred, you know, because I made my first solo album while I was on Married with Children. And up until that point, because of some of my life choices and what I was doing, it just seemed to always elude me. I made records with a band and sang backgrounds to really pay my rent. But my first solo record was after I was on TV. But I wouldn't say it was because I didn't think I could do it. It was because I was in a better headspace to do it.
And now that you had the sort of cred of a hit TV show going into the solo record, did you have to sort of battle record executives to not have to sing as Peggy or anything like that?
It was so heartbreaking when I finally, I mean, this is like, you know, it's the blessing and the curse of being on a television series that's doing well. People think that's who you are, and and they don't really want you to do anything else.
Which is the craziest thing, considering who Peggy and that family was.
Yeah, it was crazy, really crazy. So I made my solo record, and I went on tour, and you know, I remember going to radio stations, and I had made such careful decisions about that record. I wrote everything on it. I really wanted to be taken seriously as an artist. It was so like my dream. And I'd go to these radio stations and they'd talk like 5 minutes about the record, and then they wanted to talk about Peg Bundy. That's really all they wanted to talk about. And so I was really, and it was a good record, and I was just disheartened by it. At the time, I remember feeling like, oh, God.
Can I ask you, what was it like doing interviews at that time? We're talking like 1993, right? 92, 93?
Yes.
What was it like
Yes.
doing interviews at that time as a woman who was portraying something like Peg Bundy on TV? Because we live in a different age now where interviewers are taken to task, journalists are taken to task quite often for sexism, whereas in 1993, portraying something like Peg Bundy, which was a satire that for some reason a lot of people didn't get was a satire.
Not at all.
I'd imagine you'd go on a radio show and it would be offensive, to say the least, at times.
Well, I got a lot of questions from, because it was a very misogynistic show. And, it was when I really clearly understood that my job as an actor was to interpret the material. It's not necessarily my belief system. And my belief system has nothing to do with being an actor. I was hired to play a part that, she's a woman that, and the women were portrayed completely like exploited on that show. That was part of Al Bundy's thing. He liked hot women and they showed him all the time. And so people would ask me questions like, is this what you think? I mean, how can you be on a show like this? And I was really clear that I don't believe in censorship. And I also believe that it's my job as an actor to interpret the material. It's not my belief. If you're asking me, do I think that women should be portrayed in a misogynistic way, in an exploited way? Of course I don't think that. But playing Peg Bundy had nothing to do with what I thought. That was my job.
Did you think that the show was misogynist at the time? Because it's my memory, and I could be wrong. I could just try to look back on the show in a positive way because I watched it when I was a kid. That it was All in the Family style, sort of satirizing this exploitative culture that we had developed in the 80s.
Well, that was completely what it was. However, people's interpretation of that. I mean, I cannot tell you how many people would call or write and say, my family is just like that. That's exactly how my mom is. That's exactly how my dad is. And so
the guys in Jersey that worship Tony Soprano not getting
Yeah. So, suddenly it dawned on us that, this is not just a satire to everybody. Some people are really, truly relating to this. And that's when I would get these very serious questions about a show that was really only meant to be funny. It was meant to be funny and to entertain and to laugh at ourselves. And I always got it as that. But some people took it really seriously.
I think one of the things that I related to about that show, and we won't stay on that show too long, but you say in the book that even off camera, you guys were kind of like this family in the way that you were very sarcastic with each other in the way that you were on camera. And that was the one thing that I always related to with that show with my family, not the sexism, but that everyone was very, very biting all the time and always trying to find the best joke about each other.
Yeah, the actors, Eddie and Christina and David and I, were one sarcastic bunch. And we loved to rib each other, especially Ed. Ed loved to tell jokes about people, but in a loving way, like the way you would do in your family. So it was kind of a dark bunch. We were just sort of, it wasn't a surprise that we were all cast and we were like the black sheep of television at that point because we were all kind of like, gnarly a little bit in our own ways.
Such a strange time for television because it was the introduction of Fox, which was just like the new major network. There wasn't even really that much of basic cable yet.
No, we didn't even know we were successful for a good 3 years because I think it was 70% of the country could get the Fox network. And a lot of the only way you could get it was to have like those little rabbit ears on your TV. So, and it was not considered a real network by the network standards. So we didn't realize that it was catching on the way it was. So we were just over there doing our thing. And plus it was so irreverent for the time. I remember when I read it, I thought, well, nobody's going to watch this. I thought it was hysterical, but I thought this is dark. Nobody's going to like it.
Little did you know you were going to be walking that fine line where one audience was going to be watching because they thought they were making fun of the culture and the other one was going to be watching because they thought they were being represented.
Yes, that's exactly right. That's my family. Yeah.
And speaking of irreverent, let's talk about Futurama.
Okay.
Yeah, I love that show, obviously. What was it like when you first got that script? Because even though those were some of the Simpsons creators, I'm sure you saw that and were like, there's no way this is going to last that long. This is crazy.
Well, I didn't know anything about the animation world, and I knew Matt Groening from his early days on Fox, because we both started on Fox at about the same time. And, he called me and said, or somehow I got the call, and they'd already started the show, and he asked me to come in and read for it, and I did. And I'd never worked with voice actors before, which is an unbelievable art form. I mean, these guys, Billy West and John DiMaggio and Maurice LaManche and Tress MacNeille, they're unbelievable voice actors. They could each do like 10, 15 different voices, and I just came in and Leela just sounded like this, just sounded like me. And so it was a really great experience. I mean, I could be Leela right now. So just a little bit higher pitch, and then I'm Leela.
That'd be so funny. You'd go into the room and there's all these voice actors trying to modify and change, and you're like, okay, guys, let's go. I'm ready. We'll do this.
Yeah. Then I would just do and then at a certain point, every once in a while, they'd say, could you do this voice or that voice? And I would be so intimidated because I was with these amazing voice actors, and it would just be embarrassing to even try. So they didn't push me too much.
Now, as you say in the book, you never really wanted to be an actress. You kind of fell into it. And I have to say, that makes sense looking back on your career, because I don't remember too many things in between Married with Children, Futurama, and Sons of Anarchy that look like someone who needs to be on screen trying to get work, like some sort of made-for-TV movie or something, and maybe
I did some of those.
You did do some of those.
Yeah, they're
Then I guess I just don't remember that.
You wouldn't remember. I barely remember.
But were you the type of actress when you didn't have work, you were really trying to get work as an actress?
Oh, yes. Once I did Married with Children, I feel like I learned how to be an actor while I was doing Married with Children. The first 5 years of it, I kept thinking, well, I better keep my regular night gig as a musician. I always had a band. I was always trying to write. Because I don't know how long this is going to last. It was kind of like I'm not quite sure where I am.
Did your cast members ever come out and see you sing at night?
Or? Oh yeah. They would all come down, and I always I'd have at least a blues band. I'd have something, and I don't mean at least a blues band, like that's not enough. But it didn't have to be all original material. I could just go and, play with my friends and play blues music. So anyway, after about 5 years, I started to realize, oh yeah, I guess I am an actor. And then I did some of these very odd movies of the week. And after Married with Children ended, I really thought, well, I like this. So I just thought I'd get another job right away. And it took a minute because, the perception of being in people's living room as one character.
Especially such a broad character
Such a broad character was, it had its limits in terms of doing other kind of work. And I had always felt I was actually a dramatic actress. I'd always felt like, my dad had always told me, if you're going to be an actor, you should be a dramatic actress. You're such a dramatic kid. So, and when I'd been in high school, I'd been in a few dramatic plays. So I thought, well, I think I have those chops. But I couldn't get anybody to take me seriously. I'd literally have to go to auditions to show people I didn't have red hair and always wear high heels.
And then they'd probably be a little let down.
Probably.
Because they wanted to see Peggy.
They wanted Peg to come over. It took a minute. So, show business does a very good job of making it look like it's not that difficult. That's kind of the job of show business.
It's made to look effortless.
It's made to look effortless, and it does it really well. But the truth is that there's spaces in between where it's definitely not effortless.
Yeah. So when you win awards for Sons of Anarchy, did it feel like a bit of vindication for the years where you were trying to get dramatic roles?
It was a total vindication. The fact, because I'd been nominated for a Golden Globe 4 or 5 times for Peggy Bundy and never won. And then when I finally got a dramatic role that I felt like, oh, I can really sink into this. And then to be nominated and then win for it, yeah, it felt like a double victory because it was a drama. So I felt like I'd sort of, gotten my way through over a hurdle that was hard to get over.
And now you're back on TV with another show. It just got picked up for a second season, right?
Yes.
Superior Donuts.
Yeah. Yay! How good.
Inspired by.
I like the show. That's awesome.
Now, Superior Donuts is sort of inspired by, loosely influenced by Tracy Letts's wonderful play.
Yes, it's based on his play. Yeah. Even though they kind of, the writers have now just taken the format and then they make it into the sitcom genre.
Plays like an hour and a half. You can't really.
Right, you can't do the same play every week. Right.
Has Tracy Letts been around? Do you get to work with him at all?
No, he came. I got the job sort of at the end of a long process. They had been trying to develop it for a long time. They shot an initial pilot. They ended up recasting some of the pilot. They were already starting their reshoot, and Tracy was around then. And then I was brought in, like in the last 4 days, I got offered the job, and so no, I didn't meet him. I kind of came in towards the end, and I don't know if he's going to be around. He was around during the initial pilot, and I haven't seen him since. His wife came to visit, which was very exciting.
Carrie Coons, yeah.
I love her.
You're a big Leftovers fan?
Oh, big Leftovers fan. Cannot wait for the next season. I'm so sorry it's ending.
Are you going to be a part of the Sons of Anarchy spinoff at all?
No. Who's seen the end of Sons of Anarchy? Everybody? So y'all know what happened to Gemma. Okay, so no, she's not resurrected.
We could prequel it, or we could,
Well, if he ever does a prequel, I think by then I'll be way too old, but to be like young Gemma. So, and this is actually, the Mayans MC is an offshoot of, it was another club that was around during Sons of Anarchy. So it's all Latin, and it's all Latino actors and actresses, and there's only one white person on the whole show.
No, your
that's the other reason I'm not in it. Wrong color.
Your husband, Kurt Sutter, who's the creator of Sons of Anarchy, is known as a relatively intense TV showrunner, right?
Yes.
What was it like working with him as a showrunner and at home as a husband? How did you guys separate?
How did we navigate it? At first, we had to get used to it a little bit because we both really loved what we were doing. So we would talk about it at work, and then we'd talk about it at home, and then I would be opinionated, which is not always great to bring to your boss. And, first of all, I have to explain that we do very different things. So when you're married to the creator showrunner, you don't see him all the time. It's not like I'd go to work and we share an office. He's off doing something else, and I'm acting.
Right. But sometimes he's probably not even on set.
Yeah, he's not even around.
There's other writers for their episodes. Yeah.
Right. So at the beginning, I'd throw in my 2 cents here and there, and then I'd realize, oh, you know what? He's the creator. It's just like I get back to that. I think it's the actor's job to interpret the creator's thing. I don't think it's my job to necessarily. My job is to take whatever I'm given and tell the story. And his job is to give me the story. So there would be questions about character choices, and those we were great about. But if I would sort of say something like, I don't think she'd do that, he would look at me like, well, I think she does. And then ultimately it would be like, yeah, you wrote her, and you probably know better. So it's my job to find that. And
that answer usually means like 2 things, right? It's like, 1, that's my creation, and I think I would know that. And 2, like, just trying to plow forward here with everything that I have to do. So that's what she does, okay? Like, that's kind of where the showrunner sometimes comes from, I think.
Sometimes, yes. But in his case, he's very, he's very methodical. So things are well thought out, and he knew better. So ultimately what worked the best for us is, we have 3 kids at home, and, they would pull focus for sure. So it was really great to kind of leave work and just be home. And that is what gave us a lot of balance.
And now you have Dirty Dancing coming out next month.
Yeah.
What is the show?
No.
The movie?
It's a remake.
Excuse me.
They've reimagined it. They wrote it's taken from the movie. It's like everything the movie was, but it's redone for ABC. And I play the part of Vivian, who had a kind of a smaller role in the original movie. It's a little bit bigger in this TV movie because I get to sing and dance. She's the divorcee that seduces all the young guys. That's
the
me.
Cougar. You get to be
I'm
the Cougar.
Yeah. I hate that word. I just have to tell you.
Really? Why?
I don't like the cougar word.
I want to.
Well, there's not really a word for. I guess is there a word for an older guy that likes young girls? I guess what's that, like dirty old man?
We live in. No, I think it's like James Bond or like any movie that has an old man that's like a 25-year-old woman.
You mean like the movie
everything.
business, right? Yeah. So I don't know. So they don't really have a word, but us older gals have that word. So I'm not a big fan of it.
I agree with you 100%.
But yes, that's what I play. I play the divorcee who hits on the young guy.
Let's hear some questions from the audience. Who has a microphone? Right there.
Hello, Katie. How you doing? Chris
Good.
Wade. Like, I've been a big fan since Married with Children. I just want to know, like, who's your biggest inspiration that got you into acting?
My biggest inspiration to get me into acting. Oh, let's see. Since I wasn't, well, I would, I love to watch movies. I've always been a big movie fan. I would have to say, Meryl Streep. I would have to say anybody that's a good actor. I'd have to say Gene Hackman. I used to love to watch Gene Hackman. Ultimately, I've learned that I love the craft of acting now. So it's hard for me to pick one. I love great performances. I love Tom Hardy. I just watched Tom Hardy in Taboo. Did you guys see that? Oh my God, he's so great. So it's not one person.
Can I ask another question about Peggy?
Sure.
Sorry. I'm curious about where the conception of Peggy really came from. If she was a fully formed idea when you got the script, or if you guys worked together, because she's such a great photographic example of this sort of Reagan Americana that's actually over-sexualized at the same time as trying to recreate the 50s. And it's such a fascinating specimen, like a John Waters movie almost of that time.
Wow. You saw all that. That's cool.
Literally just now.
That was really good. No, really what it was is she was written as this kind of slovenly housewife that just laid around the house and didn't do anything. And I was way too vain to go into my audition that way. That's simple as that. So I kind of dolled her up, and I went to my audition. I remember I sexed her up a little bit. When I read the script, I thought, well, these are two people that have been married forever. They speak horribly to each other. They must have great sex or something. So I just decided to make her hot. Something had to keep them together. So that was my choice, and they went for it. They liked that kind of dolled up look. And I think it really came out of, it's amazing that you saw all that you just said out of that character. I think that's fantastic. But it was purely a vanity choice.
I just remember the heels and the leopard, and it's almost like the beehive hair at times, It felt very much like it was replicating this era while at the same time sexing it up, which felt like that period of time.
Yeah, totally. And I had shoulder pads, like 50s with shoulder pads. Yes.
Next question. Right here.
Hi, Katie. Hi. I just want to say I'm so impressed. You seem to be such a strong woman with so many strings to your bow. I love that. It's very.
So many strings to my bow. I love that.
If you don't, sorry, English expression maybe.
It's very good.
I just want to ask you. I'm in my small way writing a memoir, and there seem to be a few things I want to say about people that they may not love, and. What do you do with that? Do you change the names? Do you tone it down? What goes on?
I was very cognizant of that when I was writing my memoir. And my choice was to make sure that it was my point of view. I never, because I tell family stories, I tell the stories of my children, and then I tell personal stories about myself. I didn't want to offend anybody. So I made sure that it was very clear that this is how I saw my life. This is how I saw my growing up years. And then with my children, with my older two, I gave them the pieces to read, and I asked them for their opinions. And they both gave me little things that they weren't comfortable with me saying, and I took them out, because it was no problem. There was enough to write about them without making them uncomfortable, because I didn't want to do that. So, but I hear you. It's a tough choice to make, and my motto is be kind. So I was going to be kind.
I think we have time for one more. Oh, you're right. You're the last one.
Hi.
Hello.
Lurking behind me.
With all your iconic characters, which one do you think would benefit the most from reading your book?
Oh, wow. Probably Gemma. Gemma needed a consciousness and probably to get sober. No, actually, towards at the end of that series, she did stop drinking because remember, I don't know if you've watched it, but she has that one episode where she gets in the car crash with the kid in the car. Not really good, and she pretty much sobers up after that. But you know, recovery and all that is very much a part of my own story. So I think that. Yeah, Gemma could have benefited from that. Well, Peg could have probably benefited from my mothering tips, but they probably both could have gotten some out of it.
Katey, the book is on shelves now, right? People can pick
Yes, you can go to Amazon or you can go to a bookstore, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, everywhere.
The Strand, right down the street.
The
Go there.
Where? The Strand, right down the street.
And Dirty Dancing comes out May 24th, excuse me? I think.
Right, I think it's May 24th on
May
ABC.
24th-ish on ABC. And Superior Donuts picked up for a second season.
Yes, Monday nights at 9.
Check out the
Monday
show.
nights
Katey
at 9.
Sagal, everybody. Katey, thank you so much. Thank you.